Spider-Man has always been a character that I've connected with on a really fundamental level. That's hardly a unique take. One of the main reasons he's as popular as he is his relatability. His bad luck, his struggle to balance work, school, and social obligations, and especially his internal monologue and how he solves problems feels deeply honest and true, especially to young people. For me, one movie moment that struck particularly true comes from The Amazing Spider-Man, which I saw in the summer before I started college. Acting flustered, he hems and haws over whether to tell Gwen he's Spider-Man and how to tell her he's Spider-Man. As a closeted gay teen, I felt that struggle of having a secret and wanting to share it, but not knowing how people would respond on a visceral level. Another line that was particularly meaningful to me comes from Into the Spider-Verse, as Peter struggles to find meaning in his life after making his decision to leave MJ over her wanting kids and his not wanting kids. After spending a few days with teens, he finds he does have parental instincts and decides he's ready to be a dad after all. He gets to go home to the love of his life. I realized, after years of saying I'd never be ready for kids, that I still might have it in me to change my mind. This brings me to Brand New Day, which I saw over the weekend. Once again, a Spider-Man story gave me something I didn't even know I needed until I saw it at a pretty big milestone in my life. The scene I'm thinking of is the one where he wakes up in the alleyway covered in webbing and realizes that after years of using synthetic web fluid, he's developed some weird glands in his arms that make natural webbing. He's disgusted by it. There's this shot where he massages the goop out of his arm and it falls out in a big sticky blob. He recoils from this, seemingly trying to crawl out of his own skin.
Oh my God, that's hideous.
Seeing that, I leaned over to my wife and whispered, "That looks horribly familiar," and she whispered back, "I was thinking the same thing." Spider-Man proceeds to do everything he can to keep the fluid from gooping out of him. He tries putting his web shooters on over them, only to realize that his natural webbing will just tear his bracelets off. Then he tries to biologically engineer a way to suppress the secretions, targeting his hormone levels.
Excuse me, Dr. Banner? You found a way to suppress DNA even as it's undergoing mutation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so could you suppress only some parts of that DNA?
Since seeing this movie, this scene and this struggle are the things that stick in my mind the most. In the months since I last made a video, we've been doing some family planning and some making a baby, and there are some really off-putting biological changes that come along with that. For me, the thing that really got to me was that my milk came in earlier than I thought it should have. The very long story short is that there are two different kinds of chemicals that lead to being able to breastfeed. There's prolactin, which creates the milk supply, and then there's estrogen and progesterone, which support the pregnancy, develop breast tissue, and actually inhibits milk production until the baby's born. So needless to say, I thought I had more time to get used to the idea and thought that I was just in the development phase of things when one morning I woke up with my shirt a little wet and my boobs itchy, and I went to squish the itch away, as one does, only to get a full-on spray of milk, which horrified and disgusted me and set me wondering what was wrong with my hormones and why things weren't happening in the right order. I tried to figure out how to stop the leaking both mechanically with pads and hormonally through the doctor. Sound familiar? I was starting to think that this was just something I was going to have to learn to accept the hard way, where you just have to brute force deal with things as they happen to you. Nothing people were saying made things feel any less gross and weird and disturbing, until I saw my own disgust and horror reflected back at me by one of my favorite characters. As he watched his nature documentary about spider development, I started thinking about how much one changes, not just as a teenager, but throughout our lives. The things we ask of our bodies and the things our bodies need to do are often disturbing. I was afraid of even getting into a bath thinking I'd just leak milk out all over the water. But it's also a product of becoming an adultier adult as we molt our old skins and become something new. It's easy to look at me and a character like Spider-Man and think, those two don't have anything in common, but there's more to representation than a list of identities like man, woman, gay, straight, married, single, or even person and character. The thing fiction does so beautifully is it can dial in on an emotional or psychological truth, either one that you recognize in yourself or one that you've never lived and will never live, but it brings you closer to other humans' experiences. Sometimes those truths are big life lessons like, with great power comes great responsibility. Other times, it's the truth that you're not the only one grossed out by your goopy, drippy body.
Organic webs. Peter 2 had him. He was cool. You're cool.
That it's like that for a reason, and that it's gonna be okay. So, on a final note, I'm gonna be a mom soon. If anyone's been wondering why I stopped uploading, that's a pretty big reason why. I still love making videos and still want to put the thoughts that matter the most to me in a place where I can remember and treasure them, so expect more videos in the not too distant future.